A lot of people, I think, look at organizations like the Alliance for a Better Utah and think they'll really thrive in a more balanced, already balanced state. And from my perspective, here was this opportunity where there just was a void in that progressive voice. And so I thought that this was actually a particularly unique situation to put Alliance for Better Utah here in Utah.
The Alliance for a Better Utah has filled this void that has been long needed here in the Utah media, especially when really regressive policies like the legislature gerrymandering our state so much. Who was there to oppose them? Who was there to challenge the legislature? It was Alliance for a Better Utah.
Well, I am a lifelong Republican, but I march to the beat of my own drummer. Let's be honest about it. We live in a state where there is not balance. And so I think Alliance for a Better Utah plays an important role in championing questions that often ought to be asked. And I don't see that as liberal. I've used the word common sense, and very frankly, that's how I see it.
The organization occupies a really unique role. Multi-issue, of course, which not many organizations in Utah are. A lot of organizations seem to have a specialty, so that's really wonderful to be able to address a multitude of different issues. I appreciate the organization's nimbleness and ability to act quickly and respond quickly, whether it be to a particular legislator's actions or the way in which our government may be focusing on a particular policy. And I also really appreciate the creativity of the actions that the Alliance for a Better Utah takes. And I think that's key, being able to make use of social media and other new ways of communicating.
I thought it was commendable that the Alliance for a Better Utah was as active as it was when the legislature proposed restricting grandma access and making it more difficult for people to understand what their government is doing. If people are going to cast an informed, intelligent vote, they have to understand what government does.
It gives me hope that the views that I bring to the table as a progressive, as a Democrat, just as a modern person, are going to have a venue to be aired and to be discussed, and if they have merit, perhaps they go forward.
Having somebody like Marianne at the Capitol every single day, there with me, able to track pieces of legislation, meet with legislators on the fly when we happen to spot them, meet over lunch with other organizations like the League of Women Voters or Planned Parenthood and talk about bills that impact us all and impact Utahns.
The weekend before the election, the Salt Lake Tribune published a poll that showed me down by almost 12 points in the election. We were really worried about that because we knew that we were worried that my supporters would see those numbers and think there's no reason to go and vote. Alliance for a Better Utah came forward with a poll just shortly after that showed the race much more closer. In fact, it showed me ahead by a couple of points. When the Salt Lake Tribune saw Alliance for a Better Utah's polling and that it was so drastically different from the poll that they had issued, it caused them to second guess the numbers they had put out. We also contacted Salt Lake Tribune and expressed our concern with the methodology in their polling, and over the course of the weekend, they reevaluated their poll, went back to their pollster, and indeed discovered flaws in the methodology of their poll. The Salt Lake Tribune on the morning of Election Day retracted their poll and stated that their numbers were incorrect. The retraction of the Salt Lake Tribune poll was in no small part influenced by Alliance for a Better Utah coming forward with accurate information. In fact, the Alliance for a Better Utah poll accurately predicted the outcome of the election within a very narrow margin of error.
I think public officials become too emboldened. There's too much risk that they will conduct themselves inappropriately because they know that if it's only their team that would investigate them or challenge them, and I think that gives too much temptation for politicians and other prominent public officials to misbehave because there's not enough checks and balances, not enough scrutiny on their ideas by people that aren't on their team.
I encourage anyone and everyone to donate to the Alliance for a Better Utah. And it doesn't you know, one of the things that people think is that, oh, you know, I can't give money because if I give money, it's not going to be a lot of money and it's going to be a small amount and it won't matter. Au contraire, it does matter. Every dollar counts. Every dollar goes to back out into the community for education purposes, information dissemination, and just in general talking back to power.